It was just a photo, a simple selfie with her dad on vacation in London. She smiled. He smiled. They stood arm in arm, but when Ellie looked closer at the background, her stomach dropped. There, taped to a trash bin behind them, was a missing child flyer, and on it, a picture of a little girl who looked exactly like her. Same eyes, same scar, and the name wasn't Ellie. The DNA results arrived within 36 hours. The technician's face was pale when he handed them over, not from doubt, but from certainty. Ellie was Sara Wells, the missing child from Hyde Park, the girl whose face had adorned thousands of flyers, the one her real parents Nessa and Edric had never stopped searching for. At the station, Ellie sat across from her biological mother and father. The reunion should have been tearful joyous, and in a way it was. But underneath the smiles, the hugs, and the rush of long-buried emotions was something harder. Grief. Not for people lost, but for the time that had been stolen. Ellie listened as Nessa explained how the abduction happened. One moment we were chatting, you were eating strawberry ice cream, then you were gone. Edric added his voice tight. We searched. For months. We hired private investigators. We sold our car. We even sold the house. You were everywhere in that city except with us. Ellie asked why no one ever found them. Nessa's hand tightened. They changed your name, moved you to another country. Who thinks to check a family vacationing in Colorado 6 months later? The police nodded. They had confirmed Henry and Lisa had forged documentation, secured a false birth certificate, and raised her under the name Ellie Gibson. They never planned to return to London. The only reason it all came undone was a photo, a single frame, a trash bin, a flyer, a face. In the following days, things moved quickly. Henry and Lisa were arrested at the Airbnb without resistance. Henry broke down immediately. Lisa didn't say a word. Ellie didn't attend their arraignment. She stayed with the Wellses, awkward at first, but they made space for her grief, her silence, her confusion. They gave her an old childhood toy, a battered stuffed rabbit with one ear nearly chewed off. Ellie didn't remember it, but something inside her did. She clutched it to her chest and cried for what felt like an entire lifetime. The media caught the story. Found girl kidnapped 18 years ago. Reunites with family after spotting flyer in vacation photo. Ellie ignored the attention. She changed her number, closed her social accounts. She wasn't ready to be a headline. She just wanted to be. Weeks passed. She walked through Hyde Park again this time with Nessa and Edric. They found the very bench where she'd last been seen. It had been repainted. New wood. Brass plaque. But as Ellie sat there, a wave of memory crashed into her, not visual but emotional. The smell of waffle cones, the sound of birds, the way sunlight danced through trees. She didn't say anything, just smiled faintly. And for the first time since the truth unraveled, she didn't feel lost. She felt found. Ellie's room at the Wells' house had been preserved, not frozen in time, but gently updated with hope. There were posters on the wall from the early 2000s, books she would have loved, a closet full of clothes that had long since stopped fitting, but in the top drawer of the nightstand untouched lay a folded letter. It had been rewritten every year on her birthday. Nessa had written it. Edric had signed it. 17 letters, each beginning the same way. Dear Sara, we hope today finds you safe. We miss you. We love you. We will never stop. Ellie read each one per night. She cried over the 8th, laughed at the 12th, felt a quiet ache on the 17th. You're 18 now. I wonder if you've had your first heartbreak. I wonder if you still love strawberry ice cream. Wherever you are, I hope you've never stopped smiling. She had, for years. But now, maybe, just maybe, she could start again. The press quieted down. Henry and Lisa's trial moved forward. The charges: parental kidnapping, fraud, obstruction. Their defense was strange. Henry claimed Lisa had rescued Ellie from a dangerous situation, but no proof was ever submitted. No abuse, no neglect. Only forged documents. And a trail of lies. Lisa finally spoke during testimony, her voice calm, almost cold. I just wanted a daughter, and she was perfect. Ellie didn't attend the verdict. She was in Cornwall watching the ocean. But when the phone rang and her biological father's voice whispered, they're both going away for a long time, she didn't feel victorious. She felt empty, like justice had a shape but no weight. Rebuilding didn't happen all at once. She had flashbacks, confusing dreams. At one point, she questioned if her memories of Lisa reading to her Henry dancing in the kitchen were real. Her therapist said, they're real. They happened. But that doesn't mean they weren't wrong. Trauma doesn't erase kindness. It just complicates it. She wrote a letter to Henry. She never sent it, but in it she said, "You taught me how to ride a bike. You taught me how to plant tomatoes. You also taught me how dangerous love can be when it ignores the truth." She folded the letter, burned it in a small bowl, watched the smoke rise like something leaving her finally. Months turned into a year, and on the anniversary of the photo, Ellie returned to London. This time not as a visitor, but as herself. Sara Wells. She walked to the trash bin where the flyer had once been. There was nothing there now, just a faded metal lid and a sticker that read, "Please dispose of what you no longer need." She smiled, took a Polaroid, held it in her palm, and this time there was no panic, only peace. The name Ellie Gibson still slipped out sometimes. When she introduced herself in cafes, when she answered the phone too quickly, when she signed receipts without thinking, but it felt more like an echo now. A name that used to live inside her and was now living somewhere else. Sara Wells was slowly becoming real, not just legally on paper, but inside. She began using her real name on her university application, on her library card, on her new passport. One afternoon, she went to pick it up. The clerk double-checked her file. Sara Wells. Sara paused, then smiled softly. "Yes, that's me." She started journaling again, not for anyone else, just for herself. She didn't write about Henry or Lisa, or even Nessa and Edric. She wrote about small things. How tea tasted different when made by someone who didn't know your favorite mug. How the ocean felt louder now. How silence for once didn't feel like abandonment. She joined a support group. Not for victims of kidnapping, though many were. It was for people learning how to start over. Each week, they sat in a circle. One man talked about coming out to his parents at age 40. A woman shared about leaving a religious cult. Another had just been released after 19 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. They didn't compare traumas. They shared what they missed most about the version of themselves they used to be. Sara said, "I miss trusting photos. I miss thinking memory was linear. I miss believing birthdays were always sweet." A woman across the circle nodded. "But now you remember with your eyes open." Sara began working part-time at a bookstore. She shelved true crime books reluctantly, but she found herself gravitating toward memoirs. She liked watching strangers untangle their lives in ink. Some evenings, she sat by the register and wrote short letters she'd never send. "Dear Lisa, I understand why. I don't forgive it, but I understand. Dear Henry, you taught me the guitar, and also how to build walls. Dear Sara, I'm proud of you, even when you didn't know who you were." She burned them one by one in a tin box on the fire escape. One Sunday morning, Nessa knocked gently on her door. "Brunch." Sara hesitated, but followed. At the cafe, Nessa pulled out a small wrapped box. Inside a locket, engraved with the initials SW. "It's new," Nessa said, "but it's yours. Entirely yours. No baggage, no ghosts, just today." Sara held it tight. Later that evening, she opened her computer and created a blog. Its title, Fragments of Me. First post. I was taken at 3. Given a new name. Raised in a lie. Loved in ways that were real and not real. I was lost, but not broken. I found myself not in one place, but in the spaces between who I was told I was and who I choose to be now. I'm not writing to be followed. I'm writing so I don't disappear again. She hit publish, and in that moment, Sara Wells existed fully, fiercely, freely. Sara's blog quietly began to gain attention. At first, only a few readers, trauma counselors, survivors of identity fraud, a handful of curious strangers. But then came a share, then an article, then a message from a woman in Nova Scotia. "You don't know me, but your story helped me walk into the police station and say, 'That man is not my real father.'" Sara didn't reply immediately. She just stared at the message for a long while. And when she did reply, it was with 3 words, "You're not alone." She began to receive letters, not digital ones, real ones. Stamped, folded, ink smudged. Some came from people who had lost children. Others from adults who had just found out they were adopted. A few anonymous confessed to taking someone once and never being caught. One envelope arrived with no name, just a card inside. "I'm sorry, I know it means nothing, but I'm sorry." Sara placed it on her dresser. Didn't frame it, didn't burn it. She just let it sit unjudged, like a pebble at the bottom of a river. Then came the invitation. A local university asked her to speak during a panel titled, "Reclaiming Self-Identity After Crisis." She almost said no. The idea of microphones and rows of eyes made her stomach twist. But Nessa said something that made her reconsider. You don't have to tell your story. Just show people what it looks like when someone keeps going. So she did. The auditorium was half full. Quiet, respectful. Sara stepped to the podium. She didn't bring notes. She didn't recite anything rehearsed. She simply said, I'm not going to talk about what happened to me. I want to talk about what didn't. I didn't disappear. I didn't stop growing. I didn't forget how to love even when love lied to me. And I didn't give up even when I wanted to trade every memory for silence. My name is Sara Wells. It wasn't always, but it is now because I chose it. I claimed it. And if you're sitting here wondering if your name, your story, yourself still matters, I promise you are not the lie someone else told about you. You are the story you live into. She walked off stage in silence. The crowd didn't clap at first. They stood, one by one. Then slowly, as if afraid to shatter something sacred, they applauded. Not the performance. The presence. A month later, Sara went back to the cafe where she'd taken that life-changing photo with Henry. The trash bin was still there. No flyer this time. No shadow from the past. She took another photo, this time alone. When she looked at it later, there was no panic. No question. Just a woman in her mid-20s, smiling. Not because she was healed, but because she was real. The new apartment was quiet. Not in a hollow way, not like her old childhood room had been when she first learned the truth. This was the quiet of ownership, of chosen solitude. Sara stood by the window watching city lights flicker like stars that had fallen just close enough to reach. She made tea. Not the brand Lisa used to brew. Not Nessa's herbal mix either. Something new. Something she picked for herself. Jasmine green with a splash of honey. Light, fragrant, hers. She unpacked slowly, box by box. She didn't throw everything away, not even the photos from her life as Ellie. She placed them in a shoebox labeled, Before the Knowing, and she kept them. Because forgetting wasn't healing. Remembering honestly was. One day she received a letter from Lisa, postmarked from a correctional facility upstate. The envelope was thin. No return address. Just 3 handwritten pages. Sara read it slowly, line by line. I never wanted to hurt you. I truly believed I was giving you a better life. I was wrong. I know that now. Every time you smiled, I felt like I was buying time. I knew it would catch me someday, and I let it. What I did is unforgivable. But if you ever find space in your heart to remember something kind, I hope it's the bedtime stories. You always loved the girl who found her way home. I just wish I hadn't stolen the beginning of yours. Sara folded the letter. She didn't reply, but she didn't destroy it either. She placed it in a small drawer labeled, Things That Shaped Me But Don't Define Me. She found a therapist she trusted, not the one from the court order, someone new, neutral. And she started something radical, rewriting her childhood. Not lying to herself, but choosing which memories to keep in the front room of her mind. The games, the laughter, the moments of warmth, even if they were built on a lie. And in the back room, the betrayal, the questions, the ache. She didn't lock that door. She just didn't live in it anymore. One spring afternoon, Edric invited her to a local event, a storytelling evening at a small library. She almost said no, but something in her stirred. So she came. No fanfare, no press, just voices, raw, gentle, brave. One by one, people stepped up to tell 5-minute stories from their lives. Moments that changed them. Moments they never told anyone else. When it was her turn, she almost passed. But then she rose, walked to the front, held the mic like a thread, and said simply, I was once a girl with 2 names. One I was given, one I had to earn back. This isn't a story about what was stolen. It's about what I built after. My name is Sara Wells. I know who I am. And I'm not afraid of remembering anymore. There was no applause, just silence. And then, a single voice whispered, thank you. Outside after the event, a teenager approached her. Awkward, quiet, clutching a notebook. He didn't say much. Just handed her a folded page. Inside, written in neat blue ink, I've never told anyone my story. But after tonight, maybe I will. Maybe I don't have to be afraid either. Sara smiled, not for the boy, not for the room, for herself, and whispered back, then you've already begun. If this story found a place in you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even tear up, then don't let it be just another video. Share your thoughts below. What would you say to someone learning their whole life was built on a lie? Like this video if you believe that the truth, no matter how long it takes, still matters. Subscribe to Tim Stories for more emotional true stories, the kind that echo. Turn on notifications, the next name, the next voice, the next truth could be yours.